2nd, 2019. There was a return of a legend on the NXT fanbase, a return of course, a notable NXT superstar, and it was going to be the Demon, Finn Balor. Enough with this dramatic rap. Obviously, nobody cares. No mean this would be disrespectful. Of course, you hear most of the jokes that Finn Balor looks like a successful Irish soccer player. He looks like an Abercrombie & Fitch model. He literally looks like any type of thing to model random clothes that you see in a goddamn Gap or an Old Navy's. He's incredibly athletically talented and with a notable tenure in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he was in a Euro part of NWA. NWA, he came and joined the WWE. What I'm trying to get with this is, he was literally born an indie star. It took him until the latter half when he created the Bullet Club and made a whole gestation for smarks everywhere to think this would be the second coming of the NWO, yet this was, even though this was in a different part of the world, completely undivided to Western culture except a couple hardcore fans that would fap to anybody doing a bicycle kick or an over-top rope plancha. I thought the Bullet Club was unique when they had some guys that actually were Southern in it, like Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and of course AJ Styles. And it sort of worked out for the group, other than weirdly a Euro guy, an old school, a veteran gaijin, and Carl Anderson. Did I think for some aspects that that this worked? Yes, in some aspects. The only thing that was over with the group was technically them just beating up Japanese talent, even though other factions, even heel Japanese factions at the time done, they were just in English, and you can just hear them cuss, and you thought it was badass. And plus, they were doing the finger blinky thing, and that wasn't even a gang sign. They're still doing the too sweet thing, even though with no allegiance or no type of relationships they had with the clique. So, super awkward, except that we knew that this was an NWO ripoff, except this time they had cooler merch. That it just says Bullet Club on it with guns everywhere. I never head in that much into the phase, because I thought this was just something Smarks would like to at least have some semblance that there would be some mainstream ability, and they're just playing a fucking black t-shirt with white detail, with guys beating up most of the roster and taking up most of the screen time. But there wasn't much backstage cancers, and plus there were gaijins in a Japanese promotion, so them taking complete control, kind of unrealistic. And the first leader didn't even win the world title. They wouldn't have a leader become world champion until, like, AJ Styles back in, like, 2014. And then AJ Styles, that same year, went to NXT. Became the longest reigning, I think still to this day, I think Adam Cole still NXT champion, beating guys to the likes of Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Neville, Sami Zayn. All you could think. Finn Balor, from the guys that came to the main roster, Finn Balor beat to a T. And now he was so hyped up for making some of the best parts of NXT, building up a majority of the best years of 2015 to 16 and 14. Winning both the tag team, and I don't think he won the tag team. He did win the Dusty Rhodes Classic with Samoa Joe, and he was the longest reigning NXT champion. So pretty much he was a premier favorite and having a good look and the prime athleticism for his age. He's looking at his mid-30s. He was a constant favorite on NXT TV, and people were really begging for the chances of seeing the Demon on the main roster, seeing how over that was on TakeOver. So at least I get the appeal in some aspects for Finn Balor. I'm not really sold of it in the most parts, but I can understand why many people were. Huge commodity, entirely likable, incredibly athletic, and for certain aspects, a good-looking guy, but I can't say that much because I'm straight, and that makes me feel sus. And I want to punch myself every time I try to compliment dudes like that. But other than that, it's a understandable commodity. The only issues that I had with him was he's too indie-rific. I thought his moveset relied too much on kicks, especially when it comes to having a demonic gimmick that was supposed to be a different personality of him. The times when they even try to portray the demonic gimmick, they try to make that his whole awkward character that he keeps transitioning in and out, even though he knows the history and the lore of two mythical creatures from Irish mythology. It's like, oh, fuck me. It's just, it's just bad. And to see from that, I can't wait. I at least for certain aspects, for the way the roster was back then in 2016, a majority of wrestlers are already injured. So it wasn't a bad thing to see some new blood, and it wasn't a bad thing to see, a new star try to uprise to the loss of Seth Rollins until he returned like earlier at Extreme Rules. So there was a fatal four-way for both superstars, and whoever win those fatal four-ways gets to go to WrestleMania, get to go to SummerSlam for the new Universal title, or Mattel goddamn Slim Jim with a WWE logo on it, or something your little cousin made back in like 2K15 or something, and he thought it was cool, or 2K16, I think the new title belt came. So Finn Balor, after all this hype, surprising promos showing how intimidating he is, showing how fast-paced and exciting he is. He comes up, he wins the world title after beating Roman Reigns at the Fatal 4-Way match. I mean, at a one-on-one match. They had like two Fatal 4-Ways. One of them get to face off in the main event. I guess they could do that because it was a 3-hour show. I don't know. At least Raw had reasons to be exciting again over just 6-man tags every week. And, Finn came up winning and getting over by the top star in the company at that time. So that's a plus. In just under a month, he comes off facing off against Seth Rollins, having won the basic and funner matches, until the sad part, there was a powerbomb over to the barricades, fucking up Finn Balor's shoulder. Finn would win the match and become the first ever Universal Champion, until they retconned that and made Kevin Owens the technical Universal Champion because he was healthy. It would be a downing spiral of him suffering a shoulder injury. He comes back again latter half of 2018. I mean, like 2017. Having some basic babyface fun. I didn't see much except he was wearing rainbow shit, and I forgot who he's been feuding with. Like, he wouldn't carry much attraction until 2018, when he was in feuds with The Miz and stuff for the Intercontinental Championship, when Brock Lesnar was Universal Champion again, so there was technically no title to get except the Intercontinental Championship. So, in that aspect, there's, of course, plenty of stuff that, Finn Balor hasn't done. From all the stuff that he's been, like, so hyped up to do, one injury just got him out of the game. And that's not totally not his fault on them circumstances. Anything could happen in the ring. And for the passing 2 years, he's just been part of the upper mid-card scene. He had 2 matches with Bray Wyatt that didn't end up anywhere. He was on these shipping BS teases with Bayley because they were cool with each other. Got pinned clean by Kane. Got beaten up by Goldust. Like, anything that he did, he scored wins against Dean Ambrose, I think. Nah, he scored wins against The Miz and then Kurt Hawkins. This wasn't really the best showing for Finn Balor. This really wasn't until 2018. And it shows like he's so fast paced. He does the Sling Blade a lot that I had an issue with because the only time I found the Sling Blade unique was when JTG used to do it a lot back in his tag team days with Crime Time, God rest Shad's soul. 2018 was when he was picking up a bit more traction. He was getting in bigger matches for bigger title shots, and he finally, won the big one, I think, latter part of 2018, becoming Intercontinental Champion. He had good matches against Drew McIntyre, Leo Rush, Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins. And this was even earlier. They had a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title involving him and Seth Rollins and The Miz. And it literally was my favorite match of the show, even how long and tedious and boring the second half of the show was. You gotta give it that. Finn Balor, when they try to actually make him a major part of a feud, he's going to be there to entertain. In the ring, the guy has as much charisma as me talking to a chick. You could just witness it. He shows that he can show a bit of attitude, unless you think that he's going to behave like he did when he was leading the Bullet Club and going roughshod around New Japan. He isn't going to be cussing around and saying, Compton, fucking New Japan. He's not going to do that, son. It's completely weird how high a standard you think these guys are going to behave when they're actually in a mainstream #1 scene like WWE, and you think you're going to be behaving like they do in the indie scene. It's a bit unrealistic. But he's always been part of the babyface scene. They did have him as a heel like middle of 2018, back at Raw 25 with Gallows and Anderson, but who else Gallows and Anderson was getting led by was literally anybody else. I'm being serious at this point, man. But still, Finn had some successful years. He became a 2-time Intercontinental Champion. I think that's about it. I don't think he won the Raw Tag Team titles. He didn't even go to SmackDown except whenever it was a wild card effect. And he hasn't been put in any proclaiming feuds. What I was really disappointed was 2019. I really thought Finn Balor was going to be the year. He was coming out Intercontinental Champion, and he was feuding with Bobby Lashley. How else can't you spell that this title is going to be legit with a guy that is a big constant favorite with the fans, other than his Pride Month gear? That looks weird. Other than that, Finn Balor is just a bit bland. And I don't mean to do this to any other fans that are like a big Finn Balor fan. Probably a majority of them just say he's attractive, or just think he has the biggest work rate, or they just find his moves cool. Any of that is fine. But when it comes to shove, he has a repetitive, predictable wrestling maneuver. He doesn't know how to tell a story other than if he gets his fragile, pale ass injured. And his look consists of looking like he got the soul snatched from him when he was in Amsterdam or Dutch. The only thing that makes him intriguing is how many hours it's going to take for all that goddamn paint to come out of him. Talking about whenever he wears demon stuff. Other than that, the most compelling stuff was he was supposed to be pushed back at the Royal Rumble when he was the pseudo underdog to face off against Brock Lesnar. He put up a good fight, putting up some decent running drop kicks. Brock canceled the 1916, and it ended off when Finn thought he had the match won, and immediately wake up to a Kimura lock, losing. He would have some more sprouts. He would face off against Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. I thought they were going to go more into a title opportunity with him against Brock Lesnar, becoming still a Universal Champion at the time, until he lost it to Seth Rollins that same pay-per-view. And then again, back at SummerSlam. But then he fell off after being ruled out, I think, out of an injury. And after, losing to The Fiend. Back at SummerSlam of 2019. In The Fiend's first debut match. And then, he comes up showing up on NXT. Now, for some people, they would think this is a positive. He comes up a major guy from the main roster that made his name known both on Raw and NXT, and going to get these guys over. What kind of legitimacy is that going to do for Finn Balor? I know he isn't obviously the youngest dude. He still looks good to go for a few more years. No one's going to denounce that. The guy looks great and looks like he's going to keep himself healthy for the future. But I think they brung him there for a legit reason. He's fucking bland as hell. His moveset doesn't change unless he's with a smaller competitor, and most of this is to hide the fact that he has no way to actually be popular. And he's not that over. Other than if we reference the Bullet Club or Too Sweet. Or just Michael Cole keeps referencing and spouting out Balor Club for the next 17 minutes. Do I hope Finn Balor gets better? Absolutely. I wish every professional wrestler gets better. I denounce guys that act like a piece of shit and think that it's not their fault whenever they injure a person more than 5 times in a wrestling match when they're supposed to be professional wrestlers. But that's how I feel about Finn Balor. I don't think entirely. I think for the title of this video, making it a downfall is not really just a decline of popularity for Finn Balor. But how you feel about Finn Balor down below? Do you think that bringing him to NXT was a saving grace, or you think it was a decline of his role on WWE? Please comment down below. That's how you, if that's how you feel. Please, I would love to hear your comments. This is the Issue Show. Like, comment, subscribe if you want more. Please help me get up to 30.